silver is really cheap, and that's how you make money in the markets. You buy things cheap and you wait for the rest of the market to recognize it, and things go up. Silver has a history of lagging and then exploding. And if people know that in advance, I think that it makes investing in silver that much easier.
As a leader in uranium discovery in Argentina, Blue Sky Uranium is focused on advancing a rapidly growing portfolio of uranium vanadium projects into low-cost production, while respecting the environment, communities, and cultures in which they work.
Welcome to Inside the Markets, flagship podcast at StockPulse.com. Join me today to talk some silver. We've got Peter Krauth, the silver stock investor, a creation of, resource maven here. I guess you'll tell us about that in a bit here, Peter, but also put a book together, The Great Silver Bull. And I couldn't agree more. I think we're in that silver bull. So I figured StockPulse can put silver on the table here with Peter Krauth. So Peter, appreciate you taking the time.
Well, Rob, the pleasure's mine, and happy to be here and talk about silver.
Yeah, so I guess that's your bailiwick, my friend. So let's get into it here. Let's put it on the table here, and I guess let's expand out here. Let's go 36,000 foot view here. Economic conditions, silver should probably be a little more in favor than it is, considering all these geopolitical risks, whatnot. But you've got a red hot dollar and a commodity boom. Doesn't make any sense to me. It's never happened. How do you see silver right now?
So, one of the best, sales points for silver is the fact that it's got to be, I look at all kinds of assets all the time, and it's got to be probably the most undervalued asset I would think of right now. Probably, let's say uranium is along the same lines, is close, but those have to be, I would say, the two assets that are the most compelling to me. Silver is absolutely, near a multi-decade low. If you look at it on a nominal basis, if you look at it on an inflation-adjusted basis, silver is really cheap, and that's how you make money in the markets. You buy things cheap and you wait for the rest of the market to recognize it, and things go up. Silver has a history of lagging and then exploding. And if people know that in advance, I think that it makes investing in silver that much easier.
Yeah, I think an interesting one to me is always the ratio. And I've heard it debated a bunch of different ways here. And it was 131 to 1, I believe. Now I believe it's sub 80. But lagging certainly from that 16 to 1 there in 80. So I guess talk about that lag. Talk about when it's going to catch fire here. You've got demand on the EV side like never before. Some people don't even believe it's money, and it still has the value it does. So put the money into the equation here, and what do you get here? So how do you see that?
So it's all a question of perspective. Obviously, seeing silver in a range between, say, 22 and 28 or 29 for the past year and a half, or nearly 2 years at this point, it is frustrating, of course. But you don't need to look far earlier, beyond, say, early 2020. And silver was sub 15, maybe 15. And so if you look at it, how it kind of, works in a step fashion, yes, it ran up in 2020. We should actually go back to that a little bit later. So that's kind of what triggered things for me in some ways. So silver was coasting around 15, dipped to 12 when the pandemic hit, exploded to 30, and then pulled back, and has been in this range between about 22 and 29 ever since then. So if you look at where we are today versus, silver being at 15 or so, 15 to 22 is not bad. And it is still probably somewhat low for the miners to make a decent profit. I'll certainly agree to that. But as I said earlier, silver has this tendency of behaving that way. It lags for extended periods and then explodes higher. If you look at the ratio, for the past few decades, that averaged about 55 to 60. Right now, the ratio is about 82, last I checked. So what happens is typically when the ratio makes it to 80 or slightly above 80, it tends to peak at that level, and then it starts to fall. When it starts to fall, crosses below 80 and keeps falling, that means that silver is rising. Typically, both metals will rise at the same time at that point. It's just that silver will rise faster than gold does. And so we're at that, I believe, at that sweet spot where we're above 80. We need to watch for it to cross below 80, fall below. And I think that that'll be certainly at least one indicator that silver's starting to take off.
Well, the show's all about making money here, Peter. So let's talk about making money in silver. There's several ways to do it. There's a paper way, there's a physical way, and then there's the junior way. And there's probably more than you can talk about here. But let's get investors ahead here, Peter, without giving specific financial advice. I'm not pinning you to that. We never will. How do you give a little guidance here, at least?
Sure. So one of the things that I guess we're here to talk about today is a book that I released about a month ago called The Great Silver Bull. And I cover all of that in the book. Again, it's not financial advice. What I'm doing is I'm saying how I would do things. And, I've spent 20 years investing in this space, 15 years researching and writing about it. And as far as I'm concerned, the sort of lowest risk way to access silver and to gain exposure to silver is through physical. I think everyone should own at least a little bit of physical silver. And from that point, then you've got your sort of increasing risk levels. You go anything from silver ETFs and minor ETFs to the streaming and royalty companies. From there, you've got your large producers, your mid tiers that may be developers. And then from there, you've got your junior explorers. So, silver, the equities, the stocks, the silver stocks, silver itself is volatile. The stocks can be that much more volatile. Naturally, they're leveraged to the price of silver. But I don't see that as a reason for people to hesitate to invest in silver. You can adjust and you can compensate for all of these things through position sizing, through profit taking, through averaging in when you buy a position into a stock, for example. So these are all things that I talk about in detail in the book and how people can build an ideal silver portfolio. And, one of the things that they can do is also, especially someone who perhaps, wants to take less risk in this space, you can get tremendous leverage just from the larger royalty and large silver producers. And I think it was somewhere around 2003 to 2008, if I've got my timing right, Pan American Silver, for example, was up 15 or 16 times. That's the second largest publicly traded silver company. Silver Wheaton, for example, was up, I believe it was 17 times from 2005 to 2008. So you can get tremendous leverage investing in the silver space. It's a question of buying into it when it's undervalued and unloved, and then being patient and waiting for the market to come to you. And there are tremendous returns to be gained.
Yeah, well, let's dive into the unloved because these juniors are, I don't know if they're unloved, if they're abandoned or what they are, but they're in bad shape. A lot of them have worked their tails off. The numbers look pretty good, I guess, considering, but when you look at stock charts, there's no interest there whatsoever. And that put a lot of these CEOs to the task of, if you woke up in the middle of the night 5 years ago and were told that, gold was bumping on that, 19 range and silver's at 24 range, you could have got away with that maybe a month ago. Would you be on your lows? And they all said, no, I'd quit drinking. I wouldn't, that's not funny. Yet here we are. So literally arguably one of the most important industries in the galaxy, mining, is very depressed. Talk about what's going to change these guys' future, besides, of course, a massive metal price.
Sure. So silver is really quite particular in terms of its demand profile, supply as well. But 55 or so % of silver demand is industrial. So that actually sets it apart from basically any other metal, gold, any of the base metals. 50% is industrial, 50% is investment, some form of investment. And the most influential sector within the industrial side is solar panels. Solar panels absorb 11% of the annual supply of silver. So that's to the tune of about 113 million ounces. It's an incredible number. And what's interesting is that it looks like it's actually underestimated. If you look forward, current silver supply and the demand for silver panels, the Silver Institute that's the International Energy Agency, is forecasting that energy produced by solar is going to be up 8.5 to 9 times in just the next 8 years. So by 2030, we're supposed to be producing nearly 9 times as much energy from solar panels. So if solar panels already consume 11% of the world's silver every year, and you multiply that by 9, the math is simple. Within 8 years, just solar should consume all the silver supply every year. And yet forecasts for silver supply are on the downside, that we're going to actually have deficits over the next couple of years, and it's likely to be extended. So, and there's another angle to this that's even, I guess, more interesting, is that China dominates dominates solar panel production. Not only the production, but also the technology that goes along with it. So if you look at, actually, a colleague of mine by the name Chen Ling has done some great research, and I'm happy to credit him for it. He saw that if you look at what the next technologies are coming in solar panels, the next sort of closest technology is about 40 to 50% more efficient, but it takes about 50% more silver. And the technology that is likely to follow on that is going to take about 150% more silver and is about 200% more efficient. So it's all fine that these technologies will produce more silver. These solar technologies will produce more power from solar. The fact is they'll consume more silver for us to get there. And so the loadings of silver, although the trend has been indicated to go downwards, we're really plateauing in terms of how much you can thrift in terms of using silver to produce solar panels. That's really sort of leveling off. But the trend is actually likely to pick back up. These technologies are likely to consume actually more silver per solar panel. So it's very likely that we're at or close to some kind of an inflection point. Silver is unloved, and yet just one application for silver, the single most important application, looks like it's ready to take off in terms of silver consumption. So we could see this thing flip 180 degrees in the next maybe 6 to 12 months. It's really setting up for a dramatic turn.
Yeah, and I guess the question comes back for those who say it's an unmanipulated market and quit crying about it. The math doesn't make any sense from what you just said. It makes no sense at all, especially when you go to your local metals dealer and put an order in and you're 6 weeks out on getting it, or if you even go to your local guy and they don't even have it, which is right. The case. So yeah, talk about this alternative universe of the price action to what's actually real.
Yeah, I mean, I get that question a lot, and I don't have a magical answer. I mean, I don't think anyone can tell you with any sort of, definite conviction of exactly why, the silver price lags like this. Bottom line is, I think that there probably is manipulation, at least on a near-term basis. On a longer-term basis, silver has gone from $4 in 2001 to $49 in 2011. That would argue against it. That's a decade. And even at today's price, at $22 versus $4 in 2001. Over the longer term, I think silver, approaches its fair value. If you look at what the coin dealers are doing, I think that it's interesting that if you look at what's offered, if you have silver coins that you want to sell, they're going to offer you considerably below what they're charging for an ounce of silver, including the premiums. And I mean, I've asked, the only answer I get is that's what the market's bearing. And so they're doing it. They're taking it, and they're offering that much less. It boggles my mind because, as you say, supply is low. People are waiting to get the stuff, and yet they seem to be able to pay relatively low prices for anyone who's selling to them, and charge relatively high prices. I mean, premiums are still at least double what they have been historically. So I think time will right this wrong. I think that the physical price will gradually make its way to approach that the spot price will gradually make its way to approach the silver price. There will always be obviously a premium for physical. There's handling, there's refining, there's seigniorage fees, there's distribution, there's markups, there's inventories, there's all of that. But I think that as I say, over time, spot prices will rise to catch up to physical.
Well, let's as we wrap up here, Peter. Let's come up with a thesis here for silver here as we went through our examination. I think you painted a pretty nice rosy picture for the metal. I guess we can't figure out timing here, but at the end of the day here, anyone who's a real silver enthusiast who wants your book too, you can tell us about how to find you as well. But wrap this all up for us. Put silver in a nice bow for us.
Sure. So you have to be patient. Silver has done this over and over. It's been through multiple bull markets where it dramatically outperforms gold. Even the 1970s is the best analog that we have. In that decade, gold was up 1,500%. Silver was up 3,700%. So anyone who was patient actually did very nicely, and they were well rewarded for it. People have to be patient. In the kind of world we live in today, I know that that's not popular. It gets less and less easy, depending who you ask. But it is rewarding, and the setup, the fundamental setup for silver is tremendous and improving. If you look at silver demand from industrial, and we haven't even talked all that much about silver demand on the investment side and how that can be explosive. People will run to it when they see gold, especially cross 2,000 and maintain that level. I think that's going to wake up a lot of investors. They're going to say, wow, gold's at $2,000. That's a little rich for me. What else can I do? What else is interesting? Silver is considerably cheaper on a per ounce basis. I think that's going to make it look a lot more interesting and accessible to investors. And we know that it just has incredibly explosive runs when people run to it. The silver squeeze of last year, late January, is a great example of that. It wasn't sustained because it wasn't a fundamental move. I told my subscribers that. It ultimately played out that way, but I'm still convinced that, I didn't call the book The Great Silver Bull for nothing. I really thought about that title, and I'm totally convinced we're going to see the largest silver bull market of our generation, and it's going to make some splendid returns. Anyone who's patient enough needs to participate in this bull market.
Yeah, let's talk about how to get the book and how to follow you. So the Great Silver Bull, crush inflation and profit as the dollar dies. Kind of hard to say that now with the dollar just exploding here, but I think we all know the best house, bad neighborhood scenario is coming to an end. So yeah, how do they follow you and buy the book there, Peter?
So the book is easy to find. It's on Amazon. Just go to Amazon and type in The Great Silver Bull. You'll have it available there in Kindle and in paperback. I'm happy to say that it's been in the top 5 in its category since its launch a little over a month ago. And it's been number 1 new release as well in its category since then. So I'm really happy and thankful for the support as well that readers have brought to it. And to follow me, well, my newsletter is Silver Stock Investor. So you can find it at silverstockinvestor.com. And I'm on LinkedIn and on Twitter as well. And so, yeah, these are the easiest ways to follow me.
Okay. We appreciate you taking the time and running through silver with us. Again, Peter Krauth, silver stock investor, a resource maven creation here. So Peter, appreciate it. And we'll certainly look forward to some of your calls here, and we'll check back in as we close in the symposium.
Rob, thanks very much. And look forward to our next chat.